What if I told you that there is a country in Africa where the river evaporates before reaching the sea? That there is a desert here that blooms and turns into pasture at certain times of the year? A place where more than 130,000 elephants roam free. No fences, no zoo. In that same place, caterpillars become snacks, cows are worth more than cars, and underground lies the most valuable diamond mine on the planet. A country that almost no one remembers when they think of Africa, but which is home to some of the continent's most extreme landscapes, most absurd stories, and most untamed nature. Today on Bello Mundo, we're going to travel through Botswana, where everything works the opposite of what you imagined. Number 1. Location and general information. Botswana is located in southern Africa, right where the continent begins to open up towards the desert and savanna. It has no coastline, but that has never been a problem. What it lacks in sea, it makes up for in wild terrain. It is a flat territory with an average altitude of around 3,300 feet, which gives the climate a drier and cooler feel than many people imagine. Most of the area is covered by the Kalahari Desert, which dominates the center, south, and west. But the Kalahari here is not just sand and heat. It changes its face depending on the season. There are times when everything dries up and turns to dust. At other times, flowers, tall grass, and even water sprout among the dunes. In the middle of this arid expanse lies one of the most impressive natural phenomena on the planet, the Okavango Delta, a river that originates in Angola, crosses Namibia, and, upon reaching here, simply disappears into the desert. Instead of continuing to the sea, it spreads out, loses itself, and breaks up into a tangle of channels, swamps, islands, and temporary lakes. It is in this delta that the country's beaches are located. They are not ocean coastlines, but expanses of fresh water with lush vegetation, wildlife, and landscapes that change with each season. This contrast between the dry and the flooded helps explain the symbolic importance of rain here. In a land where much of the territory depends on the generosity of the sky, every drop is worth its weight in gold. So much so that the national currency is called the pula, which in the Setswana language means just that, rain. And more than money, the word has become a greeting, a blessing, and even a national motto. In a place where water can be scarce for months, wishing pula is wishing for life, abundance, and prosperity. With this extreme landscape, this nation is home to one of the highest concentrations of wildlife on the planet. It is no coincidence that it has become a world reference in ecotourism and environmental conservation. Number 2. History. The history of Botswana does not begin with colonizers or war. It begins long before, with people who learned to survive with the bare essentials, in the middle of nowhere, but with everything they needed. The first were the ancestors of the San people, an indigenous group that still lives in some parts of the Kalahari. They did not build villages, plant crops, or raise livestock, but they knew everything about the desert. They knew how to track footprints, find water underground, and live in harmony with nature. Then came the Bantu peoples from the center of the continent. These were people who planted crops, raised livestock, and founded villages. One of these groups stood out, the Tswana. They ended up spreading throughout the region and gave the country its name. Botswana, in practice, means just that. Land of the Tswana people. And they are still the majority today. For centuries, these clans lived in independent villages with their own chiefs, rules, and alliances. There was no central government, but there was organization, and from time to time, conflict over land. At the end of the 19th century, the British arrived, first with missionaries, then with the flag of the empire. They created the Bechuanaland Protectorate in 1885. But colonization here was different. There was little presence, no farms, no heavy exploitation. The goal was more strategic, to prevent the Germans and Boers from taking over the region. When Botswana became independent in 1966, it was one of the poorest countries in the world. But soon after, the tide turned. Diamonds were found, and then instead of handing everything over, the government created a state-owned company and shared the profits with a mining company. And that's when history changed course. Number 3. Population and languages. Botswana has just over 2,300,000 inhabitants. That's almost the same population as the state of Kansas, only spread over a huge territory the size of France. Even with so much land and so few people, the country is home to a variety of peoples that few people outside Africa know about. Although numerically small, they are extremely diverse. The majority group are the Tswana, who gave the country its name, as we explained in the previous section. They occupy the center of power, influence public policy, and dominate institutional spaces. But they coexist with other ethnic groups that have their own cultures and often live on the margins of this system. Among the minority groups are the Kalanga, the Baye, the Herero, and the San. The latter are considered the oldest inhabitants of the region. They live in the Kalahari Desert, maintain hunting and gathering practices, and are known for their environmental knowledge that spans generations. Even so, they continue to be treated as invisible by much of society. In terms of languages, Setswana is spoken by most of the population and is recognized as a national language. English, a legacy of British colonization, is the official language of the state. It is used in documents, the legal system, and formal education. But far from the capitals, other languages remain alive. Many are transmitted orally within villages. Some are holding on strongly. Others are disappearing, especially among young people seeking to adapt to urban life. Number 4. Religion, beliefs, rituals, and legends. In the religious sphere, the majority of Botswana's population identifies as Christian. This is a direct reflection of British colonization and the work of European missions, which spread throughout the country, mainly in the 19th century. Protestant and Anglican churches are still present today, and Christianity is the official religion. But that does not mean that faith follows a single path. Many people mix Christian teachings with traditional beliefs that have existed for centuries. One of the strongest is the veneration of ancestors, known as badimo. The word refers to the spirits of those who have died but continue to influence the lives of the living. They protect, guide, and sometimes demand payment. If someone falls ill or suffers a string of bad luck, many people believe it may be a sign that the badimo are dissatisfied. At times like these, the dingaka, the traditional healer, enters the scene. He is more than a doctor. He is an advisor, priest, and guardian of rituals. Many people consult the dingaka before making important decisions, doing business, getting married, or trying to resolve family conflicts. The rituals include dances, songs, and the use of medicinal herbs. One of the best known is the healing dance, practiced by some San groups. It is a ceremony that lasts through the night with intense rhythms, repetitive beats, and moments of trance, where it is believed that spiritual energy circulates among the participants and can heal illnesses of the body and soul. In addition, there are male and female initiation rituals performed in some Tswana and Kalanga communities. These are long ceremonies with specific rules, where young people spend days or weeks away from home, learning cultural values, social roles, and spiritual secrets before being considered adults. And like every culture rooted in oral tradition, Botswana also has its legends. In some regions, there are stories of creatures that live hidden in the Kalahari, mythical snakes that guard water sources, or animals that take human form in certain nighttime rituals. These are stories that mix respect with fear, and they continue to be told around the fire, even in the age of cell phones and the internet. Number 5. Culture, appearance, and customs. Here in this small piece of land, social customs follow their own rhythm. There is no rush, nor is there any exaggerated informality. Greeting people with respect is the rule, especially the elderly. Arriving and immediately asking questions or getting straight to the point can sound rude. Before any conversation, there is a greeting, an attentive look, a pause, and only then does the subject of conversation begin. The way people dress also reflects this more reserved attitude. Outside urban centers, clothing is modest. Covered shoulders and knees are the norm for both men and women. Showing too much skin can be frowned upon, especially in villages and at traditional events. In larger cities, Western influence is more visible, but common sense still dictates the limits. Public displays of affection are also rare. Couples rarely kiss or hug outside the home. Another important point is to be careful with photos. Taking photos of locals, especially children, without asking permission is considered disrespectful. When a visitor is invited to a meal at someone's home, the gesture is taken seriously. The visitor is expected to bring a symbolic gift, greet each person present, and participate in the ritual before eating, such as washing their hands at the table. Eating with the right hand is still common in many families, especially in rural areas. Among the most important social rituals, traditional marriage stands out. The union of a couple is seen as the union of two families, and before the ceremony, there is a formal process called lobola, which involves the giving of gifts, often money, cattle, or goods, to the bride's family. It is a way of sealing the commitment, obtaining the blessing of the in-laws, and giving legitimacy to the marriage. Even urban couples often follow part of this tradition. In some cases, the negotiation is symbolic, with few items exchanged, but the meaning remains. The wedding may involve a religious ceremony and a traditional party, with traditional clothing, lots of food, and celebrations that bring the whole community together. In some ethnic groups, there are rituals that include introducing the couple to the family's cattle or visiting distant relatives shortly after the party. Living here means living together, and living together in these parts is synonymous with respect. Number 6. Gastronomy. If this nation is diverse in languages, peoples, and rituals, it couldn't be any different when it comes to food. The basis of Botswana cuisine is simple, but full of identity. It all starts with seswa, meat cooked for hours, usually beef or goat, shredded by hand and seasoned only with salt and fat. It's no frills, but it has meaning. It's a gathering food. It appears at weddings, funerals, and community celebrations, almost always accompanied by pap, a thick white corn porridge that is a staple of the country's diet. For those who enjoy trying unusual foods, there is also the mopane worm, a protein-rich desert caterpillar that can be fried, boiled, or dried in the sun. Many people eat it as a snack, accompanied by beer or soda. It sounds strange, but there it is, a classic. Speaking of drinks, the most traditional is Bojalwa, a craft beer made from sorghum. It is thick, sour, and usually fermented at home, especially in rural areas. It is often served at parties and rituals. Madila, fermented milk, resembles natural yogurt and is also a staple on the table, pure or mixed with pap. Even with the arrival of international cuisine in the cities, the heart of gastronomy continues to beat in the countryside. Where the fire is still wood-burning, the iron pot and the meal all go on the same plate. Because there, besides the flavor, what matters is sharing. Number 7. Places to visit. Few countries in the world take such good care of nature as Botswana. More than a third of the territory is protected area. These are parks, reserves, and sanctuaries where animals live freely, without fences and without haste. But unlike other African destinations, tourism here is selective. It's a safari without horns, without lines of jeeps, without crowds surrounding animals. The rule is simple: fewer people, more respect. In the far northeast is Chobe National Park, home to the largest population of elephants in Africa. There are more than 130,000, roaming free between rivers, savannas, and borders. During the dry season, it is common to see hundreds of them gathered on the banks of the Chobe River, marching in single file to drink water. A true, natural spectacle. But Chobe is not just about elephants. In the Savuti region, which lies within the park itself, a specific group of lions has developed a behavior unique in the world. They have learned to hunt elephants. Yes, elephants. During periods when the Savuti Channel dries up, the mega pride, which has numbered as many as 30 lions, kills young or solitary elephants as a survival strategy. In just 3 years, there have been more than 70 successful attacks, and this behavior has been passed down from generation to generation until it became instinct, a rare and documented case of adaptation in the African food chain. Further south, the spectacle continues. The Okavango Delta transforms the desert into a green oasis, with channels, islands, and wildlife that springs from the water. The Mormai Reserve protects much of this ecosystem, ideal for those seeking a different kind of safari, navigating the channels by canoe, or venturing into the bush in search of leopards, hippos, and rare birds. The Makgadikgadi salt pans are home to the second largest zebra migration on the continent. And in the Kalahari Desert, dunes and mirages hide surprises, such as black-maned lions and meerkat colonies watching the world go by. Botswana banned sport hunting in 2014, patrols its reserves rigorously, and has become a refuge for rhinos and endangered species. No wonder ecotourism has become the country's second largest source of income, second only to diamonds. And that's exactly what we're talking about now. Number 8. Diamonds. If ecotourism is intangible wealth, diamonds are what really put Botswana on the economic map. The country leads the world in the commercial value of diamonds and is second only to Russia in terms of production volume. All this fortune comes from kimberlite mines scattered throughout the center and east of the territory. The most famous is Jwaneng. Discovered in the 70s and nicknamed the world's most valuable mine, it produces stones of the highest quality. Another giant is Orapa, which began shortly after independence in the 60s. It is one of the largest open-pit mines on the planet. But the secret to success was not just finding diamonds, it was knowing how to use them. Instead of handing everything over to foreigners, the local government entered into a partnership with De Beers and created Debswana, a state-owned company with a 50-50 split. It also required that part of the stones be cut in the country itself, generating jobs and value. Today, diamonds account for about 80% of exports, and that money has paid for schools, hospitals, roads, everything. Per capita GDP jumped from $70 to over $7,000. Many people call this the Botswana miracle. But the shine has a shelf life. Global demand has fallen, prices have dropped, and dependence has become a warning sign. The country is trying to diversify, but for now, diamonds are still the main attraction. In fact, in recent years alone, stones of almost 1,000, 1,200, and even 2,500 carats have been found. One of them, called Lesedi La Rona, was sold for $53 million, a sparkle that, for now, still pays the bills. And that's all for today. But now tell me, did you enjoy traveling through Botswana with us? Leave a comment telling us which of these curiosities caught your attention the most. Don't forget to click like to show your support and subscribe to the Bello Mundo channel for more adventures around the planet. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos.